Well, thank you, Casey. Feeling is definitely mutual. About to get started here. Looking forward to it. Audio looks good. I'm gonna actually take it down a little bit because I'm still hearing some background noise. Deep breath. Thank you, Creation Bear. You just made me stop. I read that, it would just stop. It's like, I will do this, and I just did. Thank you. I still am. Lovely. Man, best chat ever. All right. I have to put this link out. I don't have to, but I really want to. I really want to tell the patrons, hey, y'all. Creation Bear. Share. Copy. Today is episode 47. Actually, I should wait until I show myself, then I'll know where to cut this off. I'm coming. Do 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 do. Do 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 boo boo boo. Yeah. Here comes a link to social media. Here comes another link. Yeah. Oh yeah. It is. I forgot the light again. Hang on a second. Gotta have the light. Gotta have some illumination. Let there be light, man. Let it bring down the light. We gotta see some light. We gotta see it. We gotta see it. There it is. All right. This is episode 47. Let them eat wrenches. Quick housekeeping. Make sure. Got the window up so I can see you guys. There you are. Quick housekeeping. Almost all of you who have wrenches. Those of you who don't worry. You'll probably get one too. I believe that what we're starting here is a new form of tapestry. Government is the tapestry of agreements. And in order to practice what I preach, I'm distributing wrenches. Everyone needs a wrench. When we have a town, a Western town, and everyone has a gun, it's actually safer. A gun is an electrical field around yourself that tells anyone who sees it, I am directly responsible for my sovereignty. I have abandoned nothing of my delegation as an autonomy, as a free man, as a living immune system of the soil. I have not delegated that responsibility to anyone. I hold that field around me. And that is an electrical field. To carry a gun is an electrical field. It would show that it actually, think about it. It sort of hits on most of these top fields. It's an outer coating. Wearing a gun is a shellac on top of your ancestor, your task, your casual, and your egoic. It's showing the world, hey man, this is my job. This is my responsibility. And so I'm experimenting with wrenches. Wrench envy. If you have wrench envy, Emily, you're probably not going to get a wrench this show. Part of earning the wrench is a fun exercise in ridiculousness. It is a complete bequeathment by me to you, which should show you just how bad and broken it will be. because to put your faith and trust in me would be to ruin the entire lesson. And when I say lesson, I want to remind everybody, there is much to unlearn. We are here to unlearn things. And if anyone calls this a class, I'm fine with that. As long as we understand this is the unlearning class. This is a class to unlearn things. And I think that's why you guys are watching, because you get that. We are inundated with people that want to learn us. And that learn is always, we always have to open a gate of, I will now accept your data now. And that's what's gotten us in to so much trouble. So we will see how the wrench thing goes. If you don't have a wrench yet, you either should take it personally or you should not take it personally. The way that makes you feel not having a wrench is intrinsically important to what you are going through in your daily life. It's a checkup from the neck up, as Zig Ziglar would say. It is the ability to use something that's happened to you, namely you do not have your own gun, to now feel what that's like to be wandering around a bunch of people. Do you want a gun? And if you want a gun now, but you didn't want a gun before, why? There's no right or wrong answer here. This is all an exercise. Everything that we do here is an exercise in unlearning. So usually what happens is after the show, I watch the chat because I can pay more attention, and then I kind of distribute at will. But then I also undistribute at will. And one of you lost a wrench. One of you was just awesome. You were just kicking so much butt, and I had given you a wrench early on. But then you came in and you said that no, love is infinite. That all of our plasma, that all of our belief is infinite, and therefore we have no limitations to it. And I had to pull your wrench because in context to what we were talking about, that's like directly wrong. It's like, no. That's not what we're saying at all. In fact, when you pretend, it's the antithesis of what I'm saying. So I yanked your wrench. It shows you that this is a wrench dictatorship. It's a wrenchership. And I want that to be as entertaining as possible to you. And when I say entertaining, I'm talking about the amplitude that you generate, whether the amount of joy it brings you or the amount of pain it brings you. I want these wrenches to do one of those things. It's either going to help you fix your car, or it's going to be going right into your spokes and flipping you off your bike. And I'm cool with either one of those things. I think that as we've been looking at this apocalypse, I'm understanding that this is all good things, and we're gonna make a laundry list here to kind of prove or not prove what I'm saying, because all of you should be pruning my lips. Speaking of which, I'm gonna water mine. Before we get started, I'd like to present to you thank you, Stephen Divine. James True, you the man. Would it derail the talk too much to have you briefly go over why you believe Steve Bannon is Q? Feel free to shoot me down, LOL. That fucker gets a wrench. Wait a second. Oh, it's scrolling too fast. Add moderator. There, you just got a wrench. I'll pull it, Stephen. Don't think I won't pull it because you gave me money. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. We can go into Q. I'm going to put it on the sidebar here. I've added a sidebar. Man, it already fell. Wait, no, there it is. There. I've added a sidebar here, and it's going to be right here. Okay, so we'll see what happens. Here's what we're unlearning right here. All this yummy stuff is what we're unlearning. Okay, so before we get started, as you know, I released my book yesterday. I'm pretty excited about it. It's only for Kindle. It's because the paperback is coming, but it just takes longer. So it's out there now. Anyway, in honor of my book, I wanted to show you this new idea I have in literature distribution. And it's called Books on Tape, and I've made a prototype. I'm gonna show you this prototype right here. See? And here's, if you can't see this, this is duct tape. And at the end of the duct tape, it says they, and then as you unroll it, it tells you what it says. They call, right? And it says me. And then here's Ishmael. Look at that. Look at that. And as you unroll the tape, right? As you unroll the tape, You see the some years ago, see, and that's books on tape, see. So as you're working through your house, you would have the ability to enjoy your favorite book on tape. Some of you guys have asked for that. You've asked for, and I think this is what you mean. So, let me know if this is what you guys want. We can hook this up. These will take a while to print. These have to be hand scribed, and it's really hard because my den is only so big. It does make me write shorter though. So, yeah. Your side camera on yeah, it probably is, Casey. I have both my cameras were marauded by late night visitors, and one stopped working. The Hummingbird camera stopped working, and this other camera it could just be a matter of being dirty, but anyway, we'll adjust that as we go. We'll just it's yeah. I don't actually think we're doing an illustration today. If we do, shut up, James. Just move on. Just move on. So, good luck with your wrenches. It's like the Hunger Games, right? Where there's wrenches that have been dropped in the middle of the field, and it'll be it'll be cool. Speaking of which, I need to say a quick word about anarchy. I think anarchy is a term that's been really, really shit on. It's our electrical field has feared this idea of being our own sovereign, of wearing our gun into the Deadwood, right? Our western town of Deadwood. We fear that, and because of that, we will demonize words like anarchy, to have no rulers or to be above rulers. And I think that is a healthy approach to see people striving for that. I do. I've always thought that. But I always come back with bioregionalism, and I wanted to explain quickly why. I want an anarchy that's based in the land. It's got to be based in the land. If you do not have your ability to claim land, and everyone else agree with that, you do not have the ability to live a grounded life. You may plant no roots. So much of anarchy, the anarchist movement, is it's more nomadic sometimes because of if you're really going to go strictly, there's no kind of system at all that's going to be allowed. I think you're going to find that private property becomes a difficult endeavor for a large group. I'm talking about a powwow. I'm talking about the ability to converge at a river. I'm talking about any kind of system at all that wants to be there. Now, I'm not saying therefore we have to have one, because it's not government's job actually to improve lives. That's false to think that. What I'm suggesting is that you create something, because if you have a void of government, all you're going to do is create a government. It's going to be impossible to say the government is no government. People are not going to get that. They're too slow to the take. More importantly, the electrical field around them doesn't have the boots. It doesn't have the training wheel system involved to get them to sovereignty. You're like the parent that's telling the child, you may never have training wheels. How dare you? How dare you have training wheels? And that's what landism is. That's what I'm calling bioregionalism, but if that scares some of you people, that's fine. Call it whatever you want. The important thing here is that we do not end at our feet. We have a root connection to the ground. We need that electrical charge. It's a necessary right. As important as it is to breathe, as important it is to drink water, it's important to be able to touch the land. I suggest that no corporation can legally own land. I don't suggest it. I don't see how it's possible. All of the corporate land that we claim to have right now, in my opinion, is actually fallow. It's tainted land. It's haunted land. It's haunted by a dead body of a corpse, a corporation. If you limit the human field to what land that they may possess, meaning that they're on, to possess the land is to be that land, you find that the private property disputes that we have when we talk about different systems of government disappear because the field of man determines what land he possesses. Some of you might notice that this is an Indian idea, and I think you're probably right. It is. These are all systems that we've had in place for a long time, but then we came in and got rid of them. The Wetiko that we had made us scared, and that fear that we had made us seek another alternative. And that alternative involved us getting training wheels. It involved us creating this system that we've needed to have. We don't need that system anymore. We can come out of that. We are coming out of that right now. That's what you're seeing. And that's why it doesn't terrify me to think about poverty. I would like us to reinvent poverty. I think that poverty is actually an inverse measure of how dependent you are on Babylon. That's truly the measure of what poverty is. We have this false system in place of third world, second world, and first world countries. It's in a lot of ways it's inverted. Which degree of country has more campfires? Which degree of country has less? Which degree of country grows their own food? Which degree of the country, first, second, or third world, doesn't do that? Which one is more weak when it comes to a supply line being eliminated? Which one's more empowered by the same thing? Which one's more decentralized? Which one's less? We live in a world of inversion. It's not a coincidence that most days I'm telling you something that's backwards. There's not a coincidence for that. If any of you want to learn how to see even better than you already do, I'm talking about like see, a really good exercise is to take every single belief that you have that you find a charge on, meaning the word nigger is a perfect example. When you hear that word, when you say that word, when you approach that word, you feel there's an electrical charge around it. And you get to walk in a circle around that word like a bobcat getting ready to strike. Or you can turn away and go, oh, I'm not allowed to use that word or be around that word. That word is teaching you something. It's teaching you about the space-time continuum, if that's even a real thing. It's showing you the shape of the universe. It's showing you everything. And it's hidden behind this opaque, static field of fear, apprehension, guilt, remorse, all of the charged particles that have been injected into you in school are brought to the surface, and they form a carbon fiber shell that stops you from seeing the truth of the universe inside the word nigger. It's showing you a deeper look at what we have. And right now, there's probably people that are offended by that. The last time I used that word, about 2 weeks ago, someone wanted a refund on her books. It shows you the electrical power of that. It shows you that electric field that's on you. That's actually making you, it's actually making it harder for you to relate to someone else who's of a different color. It's your apprehension, your sensitivity to it is one of these electrical fields. You could see how it hardens, just like the gun changes your field. So too does guilt. You have a guilt because you've been injected with a guilt. That guilt has invaded the way you feel about your ancestors. It's invaded that the most. It's invaded your task orientation, the way that you accomplish things. Actually, it doesn't really touch your task as much as it invades your casual. It completely changes your casual field tremendously. You have a social etiquette now. There's certain things that the social etiquette requires you to create a logic gate, an electrical logic gate that says no electricity may come past this point. You're having to create a troll under the bridge that's waiting for you to say the word nigger. And the moment you do, it's going to have to jump out and grab you. It's going to have to hit you with a taser. That requires calories. You are that troll. You are the troll. You have to put yourself under the bridge through social etiquette. That's why when you get home from work, you feel better. Why? Because you no longer have to, your trolls can stop working, right? These trolls that hide under your tongue, that are there to shame you if you say the wrong thing, they get to chill out. It's called you're among friends now. That's a different field state. It means you can hang your trolls on the door. That saves calories. You're instantly relieved from that. You're instantly not worried that a vibration that comes from you is going to be interpreted in a certain way because of something that was told to someone else when you were not even in the room. These speakers in the trees. This injection of EMF. How does this relate to government? It's the Maypole. The zeitgeist is the beginnings of the Maypole. It builds itself off the government. What is zeitgeist? It's this communal thought, groupthink. It builds itself around the scaffolding of a pole, a center. The oracle at Delphi wasn't just an oracle. It wasn't for thousands of years, like for 1,000 years. The oracle at Delphi was a place where kings would go, where noblemen would go, where the poor would go, to ask the intuition of a virgin suspended on a tripod above a crack in the ground that released gas, maybe. Before that happened, that spot was consecrated as the center of the world. A navel stone was placed. It's called Orumbius or something. Basically it's a megalith. It's the beginning of Saturnalia, actually. The true ritual of Saturnalia is about marking boundaries. It's about marking positions, okay? Axes in the world. The center of the world is more important than we understand. And I'm saying that because when I look back at the rituals that used to be there, most of this was in technology of belief, by the way. I sort of outlined a little bit of this stuff. The where that maypole was really the center of belief. And if you could convince the world that the center of the world, that the center of the earth, if you could convince all the people that the center of the earth is in Delphi, you're going to have an antenna now, a focused collecting rod, an obelisk for that belief. And it's going to create an AC connection. That's what's so weird. It starts with DC. Everyone believes that the center is here. And once that center is here, a tower is erected. A navel stone is placed. The Eiffel Tower is built. The One World Trade. The needles in Dubai. All these, the Statue of Liberty. All of these icons are erected on top of these sacred mounds as a collector of belief, but an asynchronous antenna, a two-way antenna. Not only do the people believe in the obelisk at DC, but DC is able to broadcast what the believers will now believe from that same antenna. And here's the problem with anarchy. When I use the word problem loosely here, here's what's going to stick you in the ass every time when you go back to anarchy. Someone's going to erect an antenna. And people who need training wheels are going to flock to it. And All attempts you've made to not make government has simply made government again. It is an idealistic thing to think that everyone in the world will never need training wheels. That's not accurate. But there's a solution. It's a very, very simple solution. And it's called unanimous government. It's the Iroquois Confederacy. It's the one thing that Ben Franklin changed. When I say Ben Franklin, it's more like, I think John Hancock was involved. There's like 3 of the original signers that came and met with the Iroquois Confederacy. The Iroquois Confederacy came to Philadelphia. They basically ripped off the Constitution and they changed a few. I won't even say ripped off because we don't even know what was even happening. They adopted this same system. Now, let's stop whitewashing history. If they were to adopt the same system, it would only be because they came here and they found a system that worked really well. They saw a system that was in place that worked really, really well, and they adopted it. That's what the bicameral house is. It's the Iroquois Confederacy. You have 2 houses. You have a group of elders, and you have a group of natives, young braves. You have young energy, and you have old energy. You have wisdom, and you have current. And you're creating this system where the 2 of these can play. And what's amazing about the people of the Longhouse, the Iroquois Confederacy, is that there was no majority rule. And this is how, if you're really, really for anarchy, you should be for this system. You should seriously look at the Iroquois Confederacy. You should seriously look at their constitution. But you can't because of your charge against any kind of system of government, because you've adopted the moniker of anarchy, when what you could adopt is a system of unanimous government. Unanimous government literally means, unless everyone agrees, it's not government. Government is a tapestry of agreements. What is a tapestry? Each one of us is a fiber. Our lives are interwoven with others through choice, through our sovereignty. Each of us is a strong fiber by ourselves. If we choose to interweave, what we choose to weave with others is government happening in real time. There's no voting. There's no representative to go delegate our authority to someone else. It's your plasma is your agreement. And you can't walk out there thinking that plasma is infinite, that it just goes on forever, because you're going to find out really quick. That's how you get gutted. And you're not helping. You're not helping by pretending that. You have to be realistic with your fiber. You have to say, my fiber is this long. I could stretch it out that far. Jeffrey Dahmer's mom can stretch out her fiber of love plasma so far that she can tell people no one understands her son. But there is an extent where she would have to stop. Because the amount of plasma, if he was to kill millions and millions of people, there is a point where she would simply run out of steam. And if you don't believe me, I'd like you to tell me about the woman that had 100 children. How did those kids feel? Did she have 100 kids? Is it even possible? Is Octomom just as good of a mother? Each of us have a limit to how much plasma we can give, and that makes it better. It makes it better. The idea of love is resonance. The idea is infinite, but the amount your body can put out is a sacrifice. And it's not a sacrifice if it's infinite. It's not. It doesn't mean as much. The fact that you have to negotiate where your belief goes is the exact thing that empowers how essential your belief is. The charge that it has is going to be reflected by how much you had to fight to preserve it, to build it up, to save it, and to hand it over. It works the same way inside government. And that's why we can never have a system like we have in DC, because it's running on blind empathy, which is an infinite notion. You can be outraged 24 hours a day and never actually have to expend any prana or any calories on a specific issue. That outrage will simply collect in an antenna and nothing will ever happen, because you're delegating your sovereignty. You're saying, I would like the illusion of having a wrench, but don't make me fix anything. I would like a plastic gun. I would like to walk into Deadwood with a plastic gun. And some of you that might work for you. I'm not saying maybe there's like a training wheel system where you try that. But it's this universal not universal. It's this system where everyone agrees, that keeps government small. It creates that navel, it creates that maypole called the center of the earth, the center of whatever it is. If it's your bioregion, if you decentralize, each of you are going to have a bioregional powwow you go to. And government is only alive while you're at the powwow. That's the living government. And everyone who goes there is inside the living government. That's what government is. It's a voluntary system that requires living calories. It only exists in calories. It does not exist on paper. It can never exist on paper. Imagine going to this powwow or not going. That's the beauty of it. Imagine going or not going. And when you go, you're going to a potluck. And what happens when you go to a potluck? You bring things. You feel power from your own generosity. Your abundance that you took in that year is something you want to share. So you bring that into this powwow. As you walk down the aisle, there are several tents. And one tent is called the Tent of Democracy. And you're like, what the hell's that? And there's someone at the door. Come on in. Come on in. And you go to the door and you're like, what is this? It's like, this is an experiment called democracy. And we'd like for you to come in and try it out. You can leave at any time, but while you're in here, you're going to play with democracy. And then you could have, now you have democracy. You have it. And anything that's inside of that tent is fully under the power of that democracy. Why? Because everyone inside that tent has agreed, this is our tapestry of agreements. But guess what? That tent, that's the land. That's their government, is inside that tent. Now, when you walk into the democracy, you're going to find right away, hey, so you're going to have to put your gun over there and check in with the hat check person. And no wrenches, sorry. That's not going to work. No. Yep. And then, come on. We're going to have a healing ceremony. You're going to be like, healing ceremony? Yeah, it's totally free. Come on. And there's a witch doctor's going to be there. He's going to be like, I am the man of the white coat. I will stick you with aluminum. You will feel better. And then you'll be like, I don't know about that. But you're in the tent of democracy. So you will look around and everyone will say, no, it will work. You must do it, so we will work too. And you can play that game inside that tent all you want. That's your socialized medicine. That's it. That grants you the freedom to do that because it's happening with everyone participating in the system. And if you want to get out of the tent, get out of the damn tent. And when you get out of the tent, you're back in the powwow again. And you can go to the next tent. What's the next tent? This is the tent of nudity. Okay, how's that work? Everyone here is nude. Well, I figured that, right? Yes. But we believe that everyone should be nude. And this is our system. So you go into the tent of nudity. And you get a really, really first-hand look of what life is like where everyone's nude. And some of you are going to love it. Some of you are going to love it. Anyone with, anyway, that's going to be its own experience. And that takes place inside the tapestry of agreements. It takes place there. So how would you enforce this outside? You don't enforce anything. You don't enforce anything. If someone comes outside the tent of nudity and they have decided to walk around nude, there is a social charge against that. You're going to walk up to someone who doesn't want his kid to see you naked, and he's going to make that expensive for you. And other people will do that too. Some people might actually be like, hey, right on. I appreciate what you're doing. You are getting a natural reaction from the field around you based on your choices. That becomes it's not government, but that's the natural law. That's what's running things. But here's the kicker, guys. If you don't have this powwow, if you don't have this one pole that you planted in the ground, that everyone agrees to is the center of the earth, meaning this is the government, all you're going to do is end up with a bunch of governments forming around you. That's all that's going to happen. And this is why I push bioregionalism, because you're able to, all of you are going to naturally pick a place, and that place is going to be a reflection of the land itself. I'm telling you. That's what Chattanooga is, by the way, the city where I grew up. It's where mountain comes to point. Lookout Mountain is a 7-mile long mountain. But at the very north, it comes into a pyramid right in front of Moccasin Bend, this big bend in the river. That is bioregionalism. It's anarchy that's chosen a place. And what did they do to put that place? They didn't build an antenna. They built a mound. That mound was the absorption. It was the mark of the navel. It was the center. Any kind of disagreements in government should really go back to where is this center? And when you have that ability to disagree and say, I don't think the center should be here, I think it should be over here, next to the Hiwassee River, where this meets this, guess what? All you do is go gather there. And if you show up and 7 people show up, great. You now have that system in place. You now have that place for the tapestry. The pole is where you hang the tapestry of your agreements. That's your totem pole. That's your center. That's your big tent. That's where everyone gathers. And how do you make people gather? You don't. You coax them. You coax them. How do you coax birds? You put out bird food. How do you coax tomatoes? You plant seeds. This is government. This is how it would work. And if you're really, really sold that it really needs to be Moccasin Bend or where a mountain comes to the point, you will spend years and years and years building that mound, convincing others to help you build that mound, so that it has a natural ability to act as that antenna to pull people in. It's such a beautiful system. It's completely natural. But we can't reject this idea of wanting a tapestry of agreements. I'm not even saying that all anarchists reject that. I'm saying that if you're looking at anarchy from outside of it, you need this piece that I'm giving right now. I hope I'm doing a good job of even explaining it. This is such a crucial piece because it plants you back into the ground. And if you don't have the ground, you're going to end up watching a government create itself out of migration. You're going to watch the machine of Exodus come chop everyone's roots off. And that's actually what's been happening all around us. It's been the teeth of Exodus. They've gelded all of us. And that's why we need this land system. I encourage each of you to find it. To find that name. I'm a man from Katua. Katua is the name of the Blue Ridge bioregion where I spend most of my time. I encourage you all to find the name of your land. I mean the name before amnesia. The name of the land before the story of Columbus. Some of you already have that name. You live in, your county might be named it. But do you know what your county name means? When you hear your county, do you picture a courthouse? Or do you picture frothy water? I'm from Watauga County. I worked hard to picture the white froth of water when I think of this area, when I hear the word Watauga. Or Kentucky. I say Kentucky because it puts me in a different vibration in relation to that area. Reelfoot Lake is an amazing place in North Tennessee. And so much of us don't know about these places because we don't know the name. And what is a name but a navel? A name is a totem pole that you place. You place it in the center of a thought, of a belief, and it collects your plasma around it. That's why it's so important. In a way, to be a pure anarchist, to only have a system where there is no rule, is to not have a center. It is another form of disassociation, unless you tie it to the land. And that's really all we need. That's all we've ever needed government to do. That medicine would thrive again if we didn't have a military doctor right now. All of it would change. But you can't be afraid of your own sovereignty. You can't be afraid to wear that gun into town. This is a book, it's very disappointing. It's Native American Place Names of the United States. It's by William Bright. I say it's disappointing because it's actually written backwards. What it is like every Native American name that you can think of is in this book. And then it tells you where that place is. And it was such a bummer when I got it because what I was hoping to do was to like offer you guys like, hey, if you have a place and you want to know what the name is, this book will help you. But it really doesn't because it's backwards. You have to go backwards from it. So you would have to like find the name that you want, and then you can look that up. But I like how much work it is. I like that it has to be a sacrifice. I was gonna look up Shenandoah. Okay, you guys have heard that word. I like that it has to be a sacrifice for you to find the name of your land. If it burns calories, you're gonna remember that all the time. You're gonna have that. You're gonna have that. Hey, remember? A good example is Clontesca. Clontesca is actually the name of the mountain that I live on, and Clontesca is a type of quail. It's a certain kind of bird, and that. My freaking phone's ringing, and I was waiting for it to show up on my computer here. That is a bona fide animal, and when I think of it now, I have the notion of that animal instead of courthouse, instead of anything else that's throwing me off. It takes me out of Babylon instead of putting it back in. Sorry about this, guys. So, Shenandoah, you guys have heard that, is New York Dutchess Company. From the Oneida Iroquoian family name, Shenandoah, or Shenandoah, that is shortened for, derived from, it tells you that. The name was apparently transferred to Shenandoah River. From there, Iowa, Page Company, Richland. Possibly related place names are Scononton, New York, Clinton County, and Shenandoah, Virginia. And then each of those you can look up, and it's really interesting when you find something you didn't know, and that is looking up those words is a form of decryption. And that's what the apocalypse is. The apocalypse is an uncovering. And so I want to encourage each of you to please do some decryption. Find the name of your land. See what it is. And every time you hear that land name, you're going to remember what you did. You're going to remember those calories, and you're going to get a bump from that. It's going to be like, oh, wow, yeah. I know what Clonteska is. I know what this is. I know what that is. It's a really, really, really good exercise. Owen's mom's in town. He did a stream last night. It was freaking incredible. And I really, really think you guys should see it, because it talks about pedophilia in a crucially important way. I'm pretty sure this is the link. There's the link. Not to repeat the stream. Most of you probably more you saw that probably than see this anyway. But she's telling the story of what it's like to see pedophilia and be surrounded by apertures that don't want to see it. Her aperture's open. She sees what's going on, and when she says what's going on, she's the bad guy. She's the one who's attacked, and she suffers the consequences for years because of it. Her whole family does. This is not a this is a common story. This happens to a lot of people. Luckily, thank goodness, it happens to a lot. I say a lot overall. What I mean is, in every town there's a pariah, and that pariah probably did the right thing. They probably did the right thing, which is what got them there. And the electrical charge it takes to pull that off would only happen if you had the right egoic field. If you had enough current to absorb that kind of shock and keep it going. It's good to be a giant. It's good to have that much current that you can pull that off. And the government, our quest for the QAnon, Epstein Island, Pizzagate, pedophilia stuff is the same kind of projections I was talking about yesterday, where you push the Zeta Reticuli out into the galaxy. You fear something because of the calories you know it's going to take, and you're not willing to spend those calories. You're not willing to spend those calories because you do not have enough field around you. You do not have enough energy to pull that off, or you think you don't. Or you've delegated that responsibility to someone else, which is another way of losing all that power. To delegate a field, to delegate your casual field, is to completely lose that field. You're now a uniform, which means your task is completely, think about it. The moment you don a uniform, your now task is completely determined by that uniform, and your task is now determined by the reputation of your God, of the corporation that you're representing. That's why you have to follow procedure. Procedure is faith. Procedure is an act of faith. Procedure says, I realize there's no victim here, but I'm still going to take you to jail, because that's the procedure. Procedure is, I realize there's no gold standard for Corona. I'm going to put you on a ventilator anyway because they told me to. They've lost their fields. They've lost their casual field, their task field, and their ancestor field. And you could see it. You could see it on them because of their uniform. You could see it in them in their vibration on TikTok. You could see their dances. You know right away the electrical field in that person is whacked. They are broken right now. You see it. And we are broken precisely because we break each other. That's why we're broken. I know it's really hard to connect those dots for some of us. But we're broken because we break each other. And breaking you in the wrong way. When you send your child to school, do you want him to be bullied? It's an interesting question. I think at first you might be like, of course not. No, I don't want that to happen. But you've already sent him to school. Okay? You've already delegated that responsibility. So while he's in school, do you want him to be bullied? Do you want him to be bullied ever? Okay? Let's say that you don't want him to be bullied. Now I'm asking you, do you want him to be bullied once? Do you want him to experience what it's like to be bullied? And I think some of you are starting to think more. I hope some of you are going, yes, I would like my child to feel bullied once. That would actually be really helpful. Do you want him to be treated unfairly all the time? No. Do you want him to be treated unfairly once? Yeah. You do. You want your child to be treated unfairly once. Do you want your child to feel threatened all the time? No. Do you want him to feel threatened once? Do you want him to have that experience and know what that's like once? I'm realizing I can't even answer that because I bet you I'm thinking there are people in the chat who are like, no to all that. No, I never want any of those things for their child, and that's okay. Do you want your child to feel remorseful all the time? No. Do you want him to feel remorse once? Do you want him to be in touch with that emotion of remorse just once? What about robbed? Do you want him to have something stolen from him all the time? No. Do you want him to have the experience of having someone steal something from him once? It's I hope you guys can see this. What about heartbroken? Do you want him to be heartbroken all the time? No. Do you want him to be heartbroken once? Do you want him to have his heart broken once? Do you want your child to have that experience or not? Do you want him to experience death? Do you want him to know what death is? Or do you want him never to experience it at all? Do you want him to feel betrayed? That's a big one, right? Do you want him to know what it's like to feel betrayed? Or do you want him never to feel betrayed at all? These are the levels of love. We've talked about this before. There's slave love. Love as a child. You are in slavery under your parents. I mean that in a good way. Don't freak out. Slave love. They are responsible for me. Their love is unconditional. I may or may not love them. I may or may not have to show or reciprocate that love. Slave love, right? Partner love. I love my brother. I love my sister. I love my wife. I love my husband. Master love. I love my child. I love my child unconditionally. What my child experiences, whether or not my child likes me or not, is not as important as the health of my child. These are the different levels of love that you rise on. And if you want your child to never be bullied, that's good. But it's better to say I would want my child to be bullied once. I would want my child to experience what that's like, to be betrayed, to be robbed, to be remorseful. You want that in fact, you want that, not only do you want that to happen, you want it to happen in a dojo where you know it's safe, don't you? Like if you could choose any kind of situation at all, guys, any kind at all, you would want it to be in a dojo where you had your hands there ready, where you were watching, where you were there to give support, where you could watch it all happen in a safe environment and throw in the towel if you absolutely had to. if it's not going well. That's what you would want. And when you look at why this is the best apocalypse ever, so many people are saying, okay, James, fine, so you like pedophilia. You're pushing for pedophilia. You're saying pedophilia should happen. It's that kind of binary thinking that you get back. And I'm going to say something that's really controversial. I think pedophilia is necessary as long as people like Owen's mom have to get shit for it, for trying to stop it, for pointing it out, for defending a child. I think pedophilia is necessary as long as we live in a community where 99% of us will remain silent and just coax everything along. Where 99% of us are still trapped in this partner love with our own child. Where I don't want to be disliked. Where we're trapped in our own partner love with our community when it should be in humanity love. That's level 4, by the way. We're stuck in this system of, I will only love my community if they love me back. And what does Owen's mom do? She goes up to level 4 and says, not only, I'm actually above the master love, meaning the community around me has no authority over me. I really have no authority over them. I still love humanity. I love humanity so much that I will let them burn me, my reputation. I will let them endanger my family's well-being. We will go through all of this because of how much love I have. Because my love is on this higher, it's a higher love. And I know it's creepy to say, but we need pedophilia until that stops. We need something that bad to cure us of this abandonment issue that we have. Because if you don't want your kid to be bullied ever, not once, you are abandoning your child. If you do not want him to ever experience betrayal, death, heartbreak, loneliness, being robbed, remorseful, threatened, or treated unfairly, you are abandoning your child. What we are is a dojo for our children. A family is a working dojo for your child. And you want as much time as you can have with that child to spar. You want to see your child struggle so you can see how your child picks itself up. That's the only way you can, how else could you kick a bird out of the nest unless you did everything you could first to teach it about flight, right? It's the only way that you can ensure that kid's going to make it. More importantly, that kid's not going to go out and do the exact same thing. Why? Because they were growing up in a simulation. A matrix where mom and dad didn't want to burn the calories. Or they didn't, a better thing, I'm sorry, not they didn't want to. They couldn't. They didn't have the calories to burn. They were too much in debt, or they were too much in this, or they were too much in that. They couldn't spare the calories. And this is hard because you're literally like, I'm going to have to rip my kid's training wheels off today. He told me last night over peas that no, he was not ready for those training wheels to come off. But I really want him to ride his bike to school in the fall. He's ready for that. I don't want my kid riding training wheels to school in 7th grade. It's not going to be good for him. I should have done this sooner. It's the hardest thing we have to do is prune our children. And that's why so many of us don't do it, because we weren't pruned. That which grows up, I call them long children. You know who they are. They're long children. They're long children with gray hair. They're baby boomers. They're my generation too. They're everywhere. They run our government. And they don't want anything to happen. All of these things are a vow of silence. And Owen's mom broke the vow of silence. But if you don't want any of these things to happen to your child, you've taken a vow of silence. You've told them, if this does happen to you, I don't want to hear about it. What is a vow of silence but putting a mask over your mouth? What is it? It's the excuse to say, I'm not talking. Can you see the words that are coming out of my mouth? No, because I have a mask on. This is my vow of silence. And as I'm watching COVID, the hoax that it is, as I'm watching TikTok nurses, as I'm watching my government, as I'm watching Epstein, as I'm watching war squirting with China, as I'm watching a $25 million hit on the president of Venezuela's head, as I'm watching Vince McMahon promoted as advisor, as I'm watching a second round of COVID coming through, as I'm watching Tom Hanks with a Corona typewriter, I am taking a vow of silence. This is just too much. I was not raised in a dojo that would ever make me feel bullied, treated unfairly, threatened, remorseful, robbed, lonely, heartbroken, death, betrayal. I was never, ever shown a diagram of a panther on the wall. Never. Not one class that I ever take did a teacher pull down this drawing and start chalk outlining what a panther looks like. It never happened. And here I am wearing a mask. Here I am making my kids wear a mask. I saw a parent the other day showing his kid, you gotta keep your hands up. It shows someone that you're not dirty. It's literally saying that. All because we didn't want to burn the calories in that dojo with our kid. We didn't want to lose. We were afraid to lose his love. And it's okay. This is hard. No one teaches you about the different levels of love. No one teaches you slave love, partner love, master love, humanity love, God love. The 5G, baby. The 5 levels of love. It's a ladder. You're climbing a ladder to your discernment. Now, take all that. Take all that dojo that you want your child to go through in a controlled way. Please take all that and ask yourself, why are we here? What is this world all about? Could it be that maybe this world is not full of evil, but instead it's a necessary dojo? Is not the way that Owen's mom had to face her fight? Isn't that indicative? Isn't that proof that we belong in a dojo of discernment? Doesn't that show us all that this is the things we should be working on? That when we're watching the entire town be silent as it pretends to be pious about the pedophilia that it sees on Hollywood, while being quiet in the grocery store, while being quiet in church, while being quiet at the school PTA meeting, because we don't want to offend anybody. Isn't that proof that we should be in this dojo? And if that is proof that we should be in this dojo, and I've just told you that maybe we need more pain like this until we start reacting to it, until we start stepping up and saying this is wrong. Doesn't that kind of give you a huge clue what we're all doing here on this earth right now? That we're here to learn discernment? That we're here to learn which calories are important to burn and which aren't? When I was in college, I worked at a restaurant called the Brass Register. It was about $1 million a year restaurant. Pretty busy is what I'm trying to say. About 30 employees total. Downtown Chattanooga, pristine location. And I was a scab. I was going through college. I worked there a couple years, and the general manager was fired unfairly. And everyone, all the employees left except for a few. I was one of those few. I did not leave. I was in college. It sounds like I make excuses. I was weak. I didn't take a moral. I didn't burn the calories. I was in college, and it was just like I'm not even playing this game. I'm here to pay for my school. College was expensive. And I was promoted. Why? Because no one else there knew how to work the registers. So I was a college kid who was there as a bartender, and now I was general manager of the place. And I was immediately thrust into the cockpit of $1 million a year restaurant, and I was like 20. I was 20. And it was the sickest, grossest feeling that I ever had, being a scab. And I wasn't mature enough at the time to know what was even happening. I was, and there was an Owen's mom there. His name was Danny. There was an Owen's mom there. And he had the calories to burn, to be fair. He didn't actually have to have that job. But it didn't matter. I got to see, the greatest thing happened. I got to see him. It's okay, buddy. Yeah. I got to see him burn those calories in front of me when I didn't. I got to feel remorse. I got to feel deep remorse, and I got to get paid for it. I was there back then. It was like they were paying me so much money. I mean, I was there like 20 hours a day because there was like no managers there at all, and it was just a lot. So everything suffered. It was when I say 20 hours, I really mean that. It was like sleeping in the office because he had to be there for the morning delivery guy, or else there was no food. Anyway, I got paid sweetly to sell my soul. I got to experience what that was like, and it was a blessing. I was in the right dojo. It changed me so much. I never, ever, ever, ever wanted to be on the other side of that again. And it was only because I did the wrong thing. It was only because I felt remorse. It was only because I was rewarded for that feeling. It helped so much. It helped so much. And I'm not going to say that's what we need. I'm telling you guys, this is why we're here. This is why we're here. If you look at think about it. All effort, any effort that you see in the world is going to be related to calories. It's going to be related to heat. All your emotions are electrical fields. Which means that the thing that feels the most emotional to you is going to be a source of a lot of amplitude, a lot of charge. It's going to be a spot where there's a lot of electricity. So let's use that to reverse engineer this motor and say, where's the torque coming? Let's say you don't know what a car is, and you found a car, and it's working, and you've turned the engine on, but it's up on blocks. You don't understand what it works. And you've started the motor, and you're listening to where the heat is, or you're feeling for where the heat is. And when you feel where the heat is, you start to understand, where's all the power going? Where's all the torque going? And when you find that the torque's going to the wheels, you understand, aha! This is a device used to churn butter. And you're now sold that that's what it is. It's you place the butter on the wheel, and the wheel spins, and it, even though you're wrong, you're closer. You understand where the torque is. You're going to the torque, and you're using that to determine the function of this device. You're not spending as much time in the ashtray inside the cab. It's certainly a clue, but you understand that where the torque is, that's probably where most of the work happens. So look at the world. Look at the dojo we're in. And where's all the torque going? It's going in your pain. The pain that you feel is that torque. The joy is a torque too. I'm not trying to say that it's the same kind of torque. But many of us are sold that because there's pain, this world's broken. And all I'm trying to get you to see is because there's pain, this world is working. Because there's pain, this world is working. Pain, anger, that's heat. It's pressure. Pressure and heat. It's a ball of radiation, and it's being used for something. It means something. This is why you're here. You are here to experience pedophilia. You are here to experience the word nigger. You are here to experience being a scab. All the electrical, these are clues. These are electrical clues that have been left. And even you are living inside this energetic tapestry of agreements. The things that are happening to you, that is the things that hurt, the things that burn you. That's why you're here. This is the alchemy of calories. Where there are calories, there is alchemy. Or there should be. That's the biggie. Because in the dojo, you can either learn or you can not learn. You're still going to fall on your ass. Someone's going to knock you on your ass. You're going to feel threatened. You're going to feel bullied. You're going to feel treated unfairly, heartbroken, lonely, betrayed, remorseful, robbed. You're going to keep doing that until you see the panther. When you see the panther, you start to understand how it moves. You start to understand how that undulating tail is giving you a clue. And you know it's a clue because that's how whiplash works. When you're in the back of the roller coaster, you're going to feel a lot more power. And you can start to see that as it whips around, it's pulling up that power. It's getting ready to strike. Stop being afraid of that. More importantly, harness that alchemical calories that are burning in fear and realize what a gift it is. Realize what Owen's mom does. This is worth it. I cast my sword into the head of this snake right here. I have no regrets. Even if you regret it, do it. Because you will learn from it. You will learn. Or you won't. But that's why we're here. And pretending that all these things that we see that are evil are proof that this isn't why we're here, or this isn't designed, or this isn't some divine plan, is actually to deny adulthood, to deny what it's like to be a parent. We're under this false assumption that the world would be a better place if no one got hurt. That's a false assumption. In a world where no one got hurt, there would be no deceit. With no truth, everything would be a fact. There would be no truths. Everything would just be fact. Yes, you could rely on each of those facts, but there would be no truth. You would have no concept of that. There would be no peekaboo. There would be no hide and seek. There would be no camouflage. There'd be no escape. All the animals would have to have teeth because none of them could lie. None of them could camouflage themselves. They would all then, therefore, have to have teeth and be mean. It wouldn't even be mean. It would simply be a machine of gears eating other gears, eating the other gears. It would be the most barren place you could ever imagine. There'd be nothing to lose or gain. There'd be no love to lose or gain because everyone would have the same. There'd be no triumph. There'd be no pride. There'd be no reputation. There'd be no loss. There'd be no victory. There'd be no tragedy. There'd be no redemption. There'd be no fall. There'd be no hero's journey. It would be a hero's chair. And the hero would be citizen. Without love, acceptance, all these things would just be always on. Love would be a white noise. That's all you have all the time. Pain is amplitude. Without these words that make you go, without these concepts that make you cringe, without ththese actions that you do that make you go, ugh. I said something to someone yesterday. It was really embarrassing. I overstepped my bounds. It was really embarrassing. This morning I was just like, as I was brewing coffee, I was like, wow, oh God, why'd you say that? Oh, you put that person in such a bad position. And I was like feeling the jolts of it. Like, oh, it's like, when you kick yourself, I'm feeling it right now as I'm talking about it. I feel those jolts. I feel them. And then I was able to alchemize them into thanks. It's like, oh, thank you for that. I'm so glad that I was able to burn these calories right now by feeling so weird about what it is I did yesterday. Those calories are good for me. These things are good for me. This place is good for you. This apocalypse is good for you. Everything that you're going to fuck up in the next 2 weeks is good for you. You know what I mean? Of course it's not fucking up, but that's what I'm trying to say. It's exactly. The contrast allows for insight. It's the only way it works. It's the only way it works. I'm trying to give Berserker Bear, Buffalo Dustin a moderator. There it is. I missed some super chats. I got way into this. Thank you for the super chats. I think I saw Seek in there. Thank you so much. And then another one, and they're not showing up in my scroll. Thank you for that. Where are they? Sorry to make you guys watch me scroll here. That's all I got for today. Thank you for the super chats. I've lost them. They're not showing up here. I really appreciate it, though. And thank you guys for being here. I will be assigning or taking away wrenches at will. It will be a fun experiment. And, yeah. Go out and burn some calories. Go out and take it back to the dojo. Wax on, wax off, right? No Cobra Kai.